Okay, this series of videos is going to be exclusively about the dreaded heater core and heater hose replacement on your early Mustang. It's really not that bad. My name's Walter, this is the GT350 Garage, and in this video I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily remove your heater box and heater hoses from your car so that you can tackle this job yourself. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm about to take the heater box out of the car so that I can replace the heater core. You want to start by removing the 4 nuts around the heater blower motor and disconnecting the electrical wires. Now there should be a connector on these wires. If there's not, and yours happen to be like mine, and you have butt connectors, you'll need to very carefully disconnect the butt connectors. In the case of my car, there's not really enough wire to reconnect these, so being particularly careful on this particular step is going to preserve the wiring. You want to remove these 4 nuts, and the bottom nut quite often has a ground strap, and I have already removed the ground strap and the bottom nuts. This particular ground strap is in pretty bad shape. I'll bring it up here so that you can see it. And all of the insulation's falling off of it. And it's a copper wire. So that copper wire being exposed like that is going to increase the resistance on the connection from the engine to the firewall. And because our negative battery cable is connected from the battery to the engine, we need a good connection here. I'm going to replace this cable because this cable can actually lead to a bunch of different anomalies going on. Incorrect gauge readings, lighting issues inside the car, lighting issues on the main lighting system even. Charging system problems, whole host of things can happen as a result of that ground being a bad ground. So this guy right here is getting replaced as part of the work that I'm doing right now. Before we get started pulling the heater box assembly out, I've already drained the coolant on this car, and I just want to take a quick moment to say that when you drain the coolant out of your car and you know you're going to put new coolant back in, check with your retailer where you purchased your new coolant and ask them if they accept old coolant for recycling, or where you can recycle or dispose of your coolant properly so that it doesn't go into the ground, the water system, etc. Old coolant's some pretty nasty stuff, and we want to make sure we dispose of it properly. Most coolant can be recycled, so that's a good thing in my opinion. Okay, now I've already disconnected the heater hoses at the intake manifold, and they are free. The reason I don't cut these off right at the firewall is because there can still be some coolant in there, and I don't want coolant in the interior of the car. Quite frankly, it doesn't exactly smell the nicest when it gets in the carpet. So for that reason, I leave the hoses long. What I'm going to do is, when I get the coolant hoses pulled back with the heater core, I will tip the hoses down behind the valve cover into a bucket and make sure that if there's any coolant at all left at the end of the hose, it gets drained out, and then the hoses will come out with the heater box assembly. It's important to note that when you put the heater hoses on, you should install them on the heater core and run them through the firewall at their full length if you're using a stock replacement style heater core. Okay, so I've carefully removed the glove box, and it's kind of a long process that you just want to be real gentle with it so that you don't destroy it, because they're made out of cardboard. Disconnect the emergency flasher light if you have emergency flashers, and just gently kind of fold it so on the passenger side, squeeze it and it'll fold, and you can twist it out and then slide it out gently, folding the other side in enough to be able to slide it out of the opening in the dash. Use patience and you will be rewarded with a sound glove box. If you get aggressive with it, order a new one, because you will tear it, and there's no going back once you tear the glove box. So I've disconnected the control cables. There is a little clamp that goes on each of those. These little guys right here, and they just slip into this notch and hold the control cables in place. I've removed those clamps. There's 3 of them, 2 on top of the box and 1 on the driver's side of the transmission tunnel right next to the gas pedal. You'll want to disconnect all 3 of those. Now, this car has an original paper heater plenum on it, and it's in pretty rough shape, so I'm going to be very careful removing this heater box. Okay, the last thing I need to remove is there's a little press-on cap on the control cable towards the rear of the box, and I need to pop that little guy off of there so that I can slip that cable off, and then I need to remove this one screw right here that's holding the heater box up, and then the heater box will be free to come out of the car. If you ever wondered why mechanics need so many tools, it's because sometimes different jobs require different tools. I'm using a pair of right angle needle nose so that I can grab onto this little cap that holds this on, and I'm just going to wiggle it off, and there you go. That easy. So now I'll reach in, just pop that control cable out of the way. Both of those cables are free. Okay, so I've got a ratchet with an extension, and I just come in here from the bottom so that you guys can see what I'm doing. And once I get this loose, it should about come out by hand. Yeah. Let's just spin that out. And now our heater box is free. So a lot of people consider this to be kind of a dreaded job. It's really not that bad. Through the miracle of editing, this is only going to take a couple of minutes. In reality, the time to get this heater box out is only about 12 minutes. So oh, don't forget your blower motor resistor wiring on the front of the blower motor resistor. Make sure you disconnect that. So pull your wiring out of the way. And it kind of helps to just reach underneath, lift up. I'm going to move the camera out of my way so that I can continue this. All right, so okay. You get to a point where you can get your sockets onto the heater plenum. All right, I had a hose hung up under the engine compartment, freed that. Now, you get to a point where you can get a socket on the heater plenum. These screws aren't even really difficult to remove. You can just put a socket on them and twist them out. And let's see, we got 2 here on the bottom. We just slide the heater plenum off and leave it. Like I said, it's pretty fragile because it's an original heater plenum. And then the heater box just slides right out. Reach back, grab the hoses, pull the hoses a little bit, and your heater box is out. Now, a lot of guys will try and just do a heater core like this in the car. Buy the foam kit and rebuild it, especially if it's more than 10, 12 years since the last time the heater box was done. The foam deteriorates over time from heat and just age. And the foam will keep the heater box quiet, and it prevents you from having excess wind noise and draft in the car. So let's look down on this so you guys can see it better. If you open this, you can see, well, okay, so with this trapdoor open, you can see just how deteriorated the foam is. So I'll scrape all that off with a putty knife and hit it with some 3M trim adhesive and do the same thing on the foam itself. That trim adhesive works best if it's tacky on both sides. You let it sit for a minute and then you apply it, and I'll show you guys how to do that. In the meanwhile, it's time to go check and see if we have any rogue coolant in our hoses. I thought I did a pretty good job draining the cooling system, and I actually did. I used compressed air at real low pressure to push the coolant out of the heater core. So if there's any coolant in there, it's all down here in the heater core. So we just want to pull the hoses through. Just like that. Go ahead and put your hoses in here. Close this door just so it's easier to handle. And that's heater box removal on this car. It's really straightforward. Quite a bit easier to do than a lot of people make it out to be. So, all right. So I hope you found this video on how to remove a heater box assembly from an early Mustang to be helpful and informative. If you have any questions about the parts that I use or the procedures that I either perform or describe in my videos, please leave a comment in the comment section below with your questions so that I can help clear up anything that you might need a little bit more information on. I'd be happy to do that. If you like this video, maybe you learned something new, maybe it encouraged you to do the same job on your own project, give me a thumbs up and let me know. I appreciate any and all feedback that I get. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the GT350 Garage YouTube channel and ring the bell to turn on notifications so that you'll know when my new videos are posted. For more information about my 1966 Shelby GT350 and my restoration and performance modification plans, you can also catch me on Instagram and Facebook. The links are in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for my next video soon.